Welcome into Press Box Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, along with the old left-hander Ross Grimsley and Luke Jackson. We are part of Press Box and PressBoxOnline.com. And we pose a question at the outset. What company makes your home more energy efficient, purifies your air, kills all viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? That would be AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com. And if you're craving that New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. That's right, Atman's has food and drink specials every day. They're now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com, a truly great place, and we welcome them in as a sponsor. Guys, Orioles did nicely in Kansas City, 2-3. They're inching closer to the New York Yankees. I think they're about a game behind the Yankees now. So we didn't let them scoot away to a 4 or 5 game lead. Ross, the Orioles face some interesting situations in the pitching department. They've got 2 of their best starting pitchers, or hope for best starting pitchers, are both doing rehab assignments now. Kyle Bradish, mixed results through 2 starts. He threw 3 at Bowie last week, about 6 days ago. Got through it, didn't let up a run, struck out 4, no walks. He came back yesterday at AAA, and the results were not that good, but they weren't horrible. He was able to get through his 4 innings. So my question is, are we worried in Bradish's case, are we worried about the results in a given game? Because the reason I ask that is John Means is really having trouble. Luke, correct me if I'm wrong. He's having trouble getting even through a second inning. And I think
he's having trouble getting his work in.
He didn't even get his work in. He didn't even get out of the first inning. So my question, Ross, what's more important? Just getting through the innings, not calling a trainer out, or are the results to be really weighed carefully?
Yeah, the results, I mean, these guys this is their spring training, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so spring training, I mean, you want to be consistent. You're building up arm strength. You're tightening up your breaking pitches and your off-speed pitches. That is something with Means, what he has to do. He's more of an off-speed guy. He got in trouble when he tried to hump up and start throwing hard. And that led to some of his injury problems, I think. But it all comes down to getting your work in, coming back after your start, being healthy. That's the big thing. And we really don't know how Means is feeling physically. That's something that I know, not being able to get your work in. And it's you kind of scratch your head and hope he's okay. But he's a guy, like I said, he's a kind of an off-speed pitcher, outstanding changeup, but he's working on getting that together. In Bradish's case, again, it's spring training to these guys now. They're trying to get their pitches up, their arm strength up, and especially in his case, I mean, it takes a little bit of time, especially when you haven't thrown in competitive games. And as far as the numbers, you're more looking for, does he have any life on the ball? Is his breaking pitches sharp? Does he have arm speed on his changeup? Those are some of the things you're looking for. And it's a little bit different for guys going down on rehab. And I saw Joe Nathan, who, went on, he was a starter. He went on to be an outstanding reliever. I saw him in AAA with the Giants. And after labrum surgery on his shoulder, he couldn't get me out. It was awful. I saw him give up 5 home runs in Fresno. He got sent down the next day to AA, and he just wasn't ready. His whole goal was to throw 90 miles an hour somehow, and that was to build up arm strength. And I'll tell you, he was very frustrated. But he went down to AA, and got stuff back and went on to have a tremendous career,
Yeah, he
after
did have
that.
Luke. I'm following a lot of pitchers now. We used to think the big bummer about Tommy John is it took you out all of the year you were in, and most likely at least half of the next season,
Mhm.
depending when you had it. But there used to be a feeling that once the guy's back, he's back. Now I'm
Right,
seeing John Means' case, which is over the course from last September when he first started
right,
having problems.
right,
I'm watching that case with Walker Bueller and the
right.
Dodgers. They've now announced that he's due to come off his 30-day rehab. Now, I wonder if he's 29 years old. Does he or John Means have options? Because you can't let that clock, that calendar, the
Right.
baseball calendar dictate when you're ready just because it says you can only stay
Right.
down 30
You're
days.
absolutely right. And you make a great point about Walker Bueller. He's had a real tough go of it to try to get back to himself. And Ross can speak to this a heck of a lot better than I can. Coming back from Tommy John surgery sucks. And I mean, I always brought up the example of Ryan Matson. You remember he was a really good reliever with the Phillies, and then he had Tommy John surgery, and it almost took him like 4 or 5 years to get back to that form. Like this idea that it's definitely going to be a clean 12 to 14 month process. That's not the case. For
Right.
some guys, they never really get back to where they were before surgery. And uh, yeah, to your point, and we've seen that with really John Means and the difficulties he's had to really have a sustained run of health since 2021. And then with also a little bit with Felix Bautista, he had to have a follow-up procedure this offseason to get the range of motion back in his elbow. So yeah, I mean there are some difficulties that come with this surgery, and that's why in the case of Kyle Bradish, you really want to avoid the knife if at all possible.
Yeah, no question about it. Um, Ross, with Means, and to a lesser extent, I know you're not following Bueller that closely, but how much can it be mental when you're coming back from a TJ surgery that you're afraid that the first twinge or the first hard throw you make, you're going to do something that gets you back where you need surgery again?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I didn't have surgery on my throwing arm. Now I had it on my right arm, and it was the
Yeah.
worst surgery I ever had. I've had both knees worked on, but I had a torn rotator cuff in my right shoulder, and it was awful. It was just terrible. Lot of, I mean, the rehab that you went through, and to actually have to throw a ball. I was throwing a weighted ball against a thing that bounced back to me. And I just can't imagine a guy going through that kind of surgery and having to pitch off the mound and get the ball back to where the velocity back to where you're trying to get it to. So yeah, it's a mental thing. Everybody's different in their recovery. I know, your knees, that's another thing, but everybody is different how some people a shoulder surgery didn't, but I know Bill Swaggerty had it, and it was nothing to him. And he had the knee replacement. That was nothing. And I'm going, what's wrong with you? But yeah, everybody's different. And a lot of times you just had a major surgery. You're trying to get the form back that you once had. There could be a mental block here and there on that.
Yeah. The mental block aspect is somebody really able to let go to me and throw at premium extension and as
Mhm.
hard as they can
Yeah,
when they want to. And
it's
and which is harder to control when you're coming back? Is it the fastball, or in the case of John Means, could it be that he's not able to really complete his delivery on a changeup, and consequently it's nothing but a mush ball, and it doesn't, his arm speed isn't even in
really. No, I
what's
mean
necessary.
you're getting ready to throw it, and you got everything going until the last minute, and you go, no. You kind of, no, I'm not going to do it. That happens, and I've seen, especially when the guys, come off of any type of injury, arm or running, you're afraid to run full bore, and once you do it, then you go okay. But there's scar tissue that you got to break up sometimes, and it's a tough thing to get back. I mean, throwing a baseball is tough enough, an unnatural movement, and to end up getting hurt and try to do it. I mean, there's a lot of things that go through guys' mind and try to overcome. And it's, like I said, some guys are different. Some guys can do it quicker than others. But I mean, you're just going to have to be patient. You got some bucks invested in them.
Well, they got some good news yesterday. They got a very nice performance out of Cole Irvin yesterday.
Yep.
Um,
They needed that too. The
Yeah,
bullpen
they
was kind
did.
of fried. They used a lot of bullets to win on Saturday.
Right. My question was going to be before we take on the Jackson Holliday question, Luke. We saw last year the Orioles, Mike Elias made a creative move
Mhm.
in acquiring Shintaro Fujinami.
Okay.
We knew it was a gamble,
Right.
but we also knew what kind of ducats Mike Elias was playing with last
Right.
year. We saw him make a move about 10 days ago where he picked up this guy from the Mets, Johan Ramirez.
Right.
And to say it lightly, he made the Fuji experiment the other night in Kansas City. He made the Fuji experiment look like was Einstein or something like that. It was one of the worst performances I've ever seen by a major league pitcher. Isn't it time, all kidding aside, I know I'm a very funny guy, but all kidding aside, isn't it time for Mike to go chat with Mr. Rubenstein and say, Mike, David, may I call you David, or do I have to call you Mr. Rubenstein? But we really need a real first-class relief pitcher. Doesn't have to be a $20 million, $18 million guy, a $5 to $6 million guy that can come in and get some hitters out. Now, we know we're waiting on CNL Perez to come back, and I'm willing to bide my time on that. But
Mhm.
Webb and Ramirez, you're trying to win a World Series and compete for one. And this is not the time to be fumbling around with a Johan Ramirez.
Yeah, well, I would say that I don't know if any teams right now in the major leagues are thrilled with their seventh and eighth relievers. And so that those roster spots might always leave something to be desired.
You
That being
can't tell me
said,
that the White Sox at 2-18
right.
are not willing to trade a guy like Steve Wilson right now.
I don't disagree. I don't
Okay.
disagree. And
And
I'm going to say
the
that
Rockies must have somebody in their bullpen that Bud Black could look you in the eye and say, this guy can get major league hitters out.
and the A's have some really good arms as well.
Yep.
I don't know, who will be on the trade block and whatever. But to your point, the Ramirez outing, I mean, that's kind of unprofessional. It's unacceptable. I mean, you can't have that. I mean, that nearly lost him the game. I mean, that's what really set a lot of wheels in
Buck used to
motion.
have a line where he goes, he needs to be a pitcher needs to be able to at least defend himself.
Right.
Well, they weren't going to hit the ball, so what the heck?
It's really hard to hit a 50-foot curveball. That's absolutely right.
Well, that was his MO coming in. You knew when they come
Good
out,
arm, wild man.
they couldn't throw the ball over the
Good
plate.
arm, wild man. He really is like a different incarnation of Shintaro Fujinami. I mean, the
at
other
least
night,
Fujiyama had a pitch.
Ross, I know you don't watch every pitch of every game like Luke and I are sort of doing. He comes in, first pitch, it's not that dangerous a situation. I think it was 7-2.
Yeah.
But in 4 pitches, he made it 7-4, and he hadn't thrown a strike yet, I don't think.
Right.
I mean, he hit a guy, threw 2 wild pitches, then gave up a single that they were fortunate enough to throw out. Cowser threw out Kyle Isbell trying to go to third, and then the camera cut to him, and he was going, yeah, like he had done something.
Like I told you before, it was an earned run he didn't get.
Right.
He was thrilled about that.
All right. Listen, we're not going to figure that out today.
No.
Let me tell you folks about a place that's not an experiment like Shintaro Fujinami or Johan Ramirez, and that's the Costas Inn. That's a sure bet. When you're planning to eat out for dinner, the place to go is the Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. Take this phone number down, 410-477-1975. I'll wait a second so you grab a pen. 410-477-1975. It's crab eating season. It's started again. For some of us, it's year round, but for others, it's right when that first sunny, warm day hits. It's right around the corner. Call the Costas Inn. check out what the availability is, the price point, the size of the crabs. Make a plan to have your crab feast at the Costas Inn. Again, 4100 North Point Boulevard, 410-477-1975. Not nearly as confusing a problem, but certainly tricky. Jackson Holliday, #1 prospect in baseball. He's not the first one that struggled mightily in his first 30 at bats in the big leagues. He won't be the last. Ross, what do you think the ball club should do? Should they ride the tide, the surf a little longer, another 15, 20 at bats? At what point does it come? Not that you're giving up on a player like that,
Right.
just like you got to get him to do a little bit of a reset
Yeah.
to get
Well,
settled down.
you know what I told you about Richie Dower in 1976. He got called
Yeah.
up in September. He was 2 for 25, ended up 4 for 39 for the year in just the short brief look. Well, he came back in 1977, started a year. He started off 0 for 26 before he got his first hit, and then he went on to be 1 for 41. So if that tells you anything, the only difference in those two situations, Holiday is 1 for 30. He has 16 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Dower was 4 for 39, had 3 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And 1 for 41, he had 5 strikeouts. So that he's at least putting the ball in play. Now, I think with Holiday, I mean, you called him up, you got to give him an opportunity. Now, how much, if he continues to strike out, that's a different thing. But how guys get out of slumps is they start being a little more patient. They swing at strikes. They put the bat on the ball. They try to hit line drives. When they start doing that, you just build off of it. I'm hitting the ball hard. They'll fall sooner or later. But that's how you build confidence, even though you are 1 for 30.
Luke, yesterday, he walked one appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to blow smoke up people, but the next time up was a kind of a key situation. You wanted to get a runner in. Neither him or Henderson got the runner in.
Or
It was-
Rutschman.
It was Gunnar and him, right? Westberg had tripled.
And then 3 straight #1 overall picks could not get the run home.
That's right. But he hit the ball hard. You're looking for small differences. I thought yesterday was a little bit of a plus day for Jackson.
Yeah, to that point, he struck out in a big situation with the bases loaded and 1 down, and he ended up taking sliders that were just off the plate and they were correctly called balls, which was great. But then he was looking for a slider 3-2. He got a fastball right down the gut. He takes it, walks back to the dugout. And that was a tough situation for him. But then he bounced back the next half inning and made a great defensive play to really help bail out whoever was on the mound. I don't know if it was
Cole Irvin.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
And that's great. That's a great sign that he's in a 1 for 30 slump and his head is still in the game on the defensive side of the game. That is really, really good because that means that he's not taking his offensive struggles into the field. And if he were doing that, then that would be a time where you say, okay, let's pause. Are we doing the right thing here? The fact that he's playing a very solid second base allows you to hit him ninth and work through his struggles a lot more easily, in my opinion.
And they're winning.
Also, right now you have 8 guys who are hitting
Right.
other than him. And so that also allows you to work through his struggles.
Yep.
He can take comfort in the fact that everyone around him on that field looked pretty bad at some point early in their major league career. I mean, everybody. And so this is nothing new. We've all seen this from this group of players, and it takes a little bit of time. And Ross can speak to this a heck of a lot better than I can. The stuff and command and execution of a game plan is something that he probably has never seen before. And he's getting some on-the-job training. And I think you can revisit this in 2-3 weeks. And like Ross said, if he's still striking out at a 50% rate, maybe you've got to adjust some things. But you called him up, and I think you got to give him a lot more rope than you've given him so far to make any rash decisions.
Yeah.
They faced 2 lefties in LA this week, and I think that'll be a good opportunity for him to sit and watch. And I think that'll be a good time for that. And he's going to get it figured out. he's going to be fine.
He's too good.
And
He's too
he's
good
too
not to
talented.
figure
And
it
right
out.
now he's going through a lot what Colt Cowser went through last year, where it seems like he's down 0-2 in the count,
Every time. Yeah.
like walking up from the on deck circle. And
You
so,
know,
and the last couple of days, I've noticed that he's gotten a little better at managing those at bats, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's all right. And this is a talented kid; he's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
as Ben McDonald alluded to yesterday on the broadcast, in the minors, albeit brief time in the minor leagues, he has 110 walks and 110 strikeouts, I think. So
Right.
this is very uncharacteristic of him. And it has to do, look, the news gets around on the drum very quickly. And if you don't have to throw a guy strikes, on the third strike, you just go up the ladder.
Right.
He helps you go up the
And,
ladder.
and you can tell right away, Stan, what the book on Holiday was right away in that first series in Boston. And he was swimming in the deep end right away. It was hard stuff up, soft stuff down.
Yeah.
And in AAA and AA, pitchers,
That's how Ross Grimsley made a living.
yeah, yeah. And
Only
so,
his hard stuff wasn't that hard.
Hey,
and
it was at the beginning.
and
I
so
learned
pitchers,
pitch though, which made it a lot easier.
and so pitchers might know that in the minor leagues, but they just struggle to execute the way major league pitchers do. And I will say this: he's getting pitched to. Like if you go through the nine hitters in the lineup, like who's getting dotted right now? For whatever reason, it seems like Jackson Holliday is the one getting dotted.
It's a huge jump. It's a huge jump from the minor leagues at any level to the major leagues, and it's an adjustment period. And it's some guys end up, going right back. I mean, they
Ross,
just
we
get,
know you got to get away. Okay. Let Luke and I finish up. We've
Gotcha,
got to
man.
get you to a doctor's appointment. All right.
Gotcha.
All right,
We'll
thanks
see
as
you
always,
next-
Rob.
We'll see you next Monday.
You got it.
All right. Luke, in finishing up, I think you had something you said last night to me, and when we're texting each other, we have some great discussions via our text, much better than this show.
Right.
But you had some newfound love you wanted to show Ramon Urias.
Oh, right. So since Holiday got called up, he has not been starting very much. I think he might have started once or twice since Holiday got called up.
And
But
we've also Holiday was called up, and now we've gotten to see the real Westberg,
right. And
Jordan Westberg. Yeah.
right. And you've seen Westberg really settle in at third base, I think. But with Ramon Urias, I think he's had 5 or 6 at bats since then, and a few pinch hitting appearances since then. And his bat's gotten going a little bit. He's got like 4 or 5 hits, and you need veterans who know how to prepare themselves for an at bat late in the game when they're not starting, who know how to prepare, who know how to get themselves ready, and will give you a good swing at a moment's notice. You need veterans like that, and I think Ramon's got a chance to be that type of veteran.
Yeah.
And because you want your top prospects either playing every day in the major leagues or at AAA. And those bench guys aren't necessarily going to be your top prospects who are working their way in, because you want them at AAA playing every day. You need some vets in those spots like Jorge Mateo and Ramon Urias and James McCann, who can give you a professional at bat at a moment's notice, even though they haven't started in a week. That's not easy. And I think Ramon Urias has a chance to be that type of vet for the Orioles. And so far in the last 10 days, he's been exactly what they've needed off the bench.
Luke, obviously the other night, Austin Hayes got a big hit for himself, his psyche, and running down to first, you saw him pull up a little bit.
Oh,
He
right.
He was taken out of the game, did not play yesterday. Brandon Hyde made the point that he would have been available, if they needed him late in the game.
No, I think he said he was not available.
Not available. Okay.
Not available.
So that leads me to the supposition that there's an outside chance, especially with what's going on at Charlotte, that there could be a recall and an IL for Austin Hayes. Question. Who would it be first up if Hayes went on the IL?
Well, for me, it would probably be a right-handed bat, someone who can help against lefties. They faced 2 lefties in LA this week. And so maybe if Hayes can't go this week, maybe they would want to make a move to get a right-handed bat.
Connor Norby?
To me, it would probably be Connor Norby, a guy who has played some corner outfield, not great out there, but he's got experience and hits pretty well against lefties. Hits from the right side.
We saw Kyle Stowers in spring, I think 3 or 4 of his 7 home runs were
Oh,
against.
that's another thing that Kyle has those reverse splits.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure how much the Orioles have ever bought into
Yeah.
the reverse splits. So for me, Connor Norby would probably be the guy, unless there's a more like a minor league vet type of outfielder you can bring in from the right side. I don't know. But for me, I saw Norby quite a bit at Aberdeen a couple years ago. Great barrel to ball skills. One of
Yeah.
my favorite hitters to watch in the system. Just has a knack for squaring up the baseball. He can hit. He's
All
a
right.
hitter. Yeah.
Tonight, if you look to yesterday morning, Sunday morning, Grayson Rodriguez was penciled in to start tonight. They've made the move and to push him back one day and throw Albert Suarez tonight against the Angels. Do you read anything into that other than what Brandon Hyde just said? We just thought we'd give him an extra day.
It also sets Grayson up to pitch the Monday game against the Yankees.
Okay.
And I think it's both of those things.
Okay.
They saw an opportunity to give Grayson another day, and they'll line him up against the Yankees so that in that Yankee series you get Burns and Rodriguez.
If I said to you the Orioles could make one move in the pitching staff, would it be somehow to improve the starting rotation or the bullpen right now, Luke?
Ooh, I think if you're saying the bullpen, you're putting a lot of faith in Kyle Bradish's elbow. So for me, I would say the rotation just because I think you can slide Tyler Wells back into the bullpen to help out
Yeah.
in that case. So I'd say the rotation.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair enough. Good point. Hopefully Tyler Wells will be back in 10 days. And hopefully Albert Suarez will pitch good enough tonight that will lead Brandon Hyde to have the
Yeah, I
confidence.
tell you what, I was at the game last Wednesday when Suarez pitched. He had a lot of life on that fastball, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell from the first batter that the Twins were going to have trouble with that fastball, and they did. And good for him.
And that's a Twins team, though, that's without Royce Lewis.
Pretty punchless at this point. That was a soft landing spot for
Yeah.
Suarez.
Yeah.
They were without Royce Lewis, as you mentioned, Max Kepler, and Carlos Correa. Those
Right.
are 3 guys that they were expecting to drive in a lot of runs for them this year,
Yeah.
and they're not in the lineup. So,
All right. And that's going to do it for today. The Orioles play 2 night games in Anaheim. Both started, I believe, 9:30 our time, Luke.
yeah, and then 4 o'clock, I believe, on Wednesday.
4:07
Yeah.
on Wednesday. All right. That's going to do it for today. I'll be back on Thursday with our friend Eric Garfield, and we'll talk some Oriole prospects at that point in time. Maybe even know about some more rehab performances or maybe a call up in between. All right. That's going to do it for today. We thank the Costas Inn. We thank our friends over at the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Please stop by there, check it out. That Wednesday afternoon game, by the way, if you work near Harbor Point, great time to just walk on over there from Fells Point or another part of Harbor Point and experience the bar atmosphere in a deli. It's really unique. And we also thank ajmichaels.com. All right, that's going to do it for today. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. And to those of the Jewish faith, happy Passover. Bye.